Okay, how was lunch, party people? Are we ready for the best panel ever? Come on, Cindy. Before we get going with the last panel for the afternoon, we have quite a few Olympians in the house. So we would like for all Olympians to please stand up if you are still here. Yeah. Wave your napkin. Wait. Let's get you guys to holler out who you are, what sport you played, and what Olympics you were in. Real quick. Shout it loud because I don't have a mic for you. Yeah! Yeah, John! Gary, what are you doing sitting down? Yeah. We got more. Awesome. Nice. Nice, John. Is that everyone? Anita, that's right. Benita and Anita. Keep going. Oh, that whole back table. Good Lord. Shout it louder, Benita. One more time. Anita de France. Candace. Awesome. Julie Foudy, 96, 2000, 2004. Soccer. Very cool to have all of you Olympians joining us today. Thank you for being here. And we also will have now 4 more amazing Olympians to talk to today on this next panel. So without further ado, our first one is a 4-time Paralympian in the 2004, 2008, 2012, and 2006 Games. He also won a silver medal in Rio, his 4th silver medal as a long jumper with the Paralympic team. And he is the only totally blind athlete in the world, get this, to eclipse the 22-foot barrier in the long jump. Amazing. And Lex lives by the principle, no need for sight when you have vision. He is totally blind. From Raleigh, North Carolina, put your hands together for Lex Gillette. Yeah, Lex. Our next Olympian just competed in Rio for his, wait for it, 5th Olympics in Rio. In fact, he has competed at every Olympics in which Taekwondo has been contended. 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016. I'll do the math for you. And he has 2 Olympic gold medals, a bronze medal, and Stephen is part of the legendary first family of Taekwondo. And get this, his brother Mark, his sister Diana, and Stephen all competed in the 2008 Olympics together where they all medaled in Taekwondo. And they were coached by their oldest brother, Gene. How amazing is that? Big round of applause for Stephen Lopez. Just like fire. Got some medals on. Our next Olympian this summer won a bronze medal as part of the USA fencing team and became the first American woman to compete in a hijab at the Olympics. She also became the first female Muslim American to win a medal at the Olympics. Named to Time Magazine's 100 most influential list, right? Ibtihaj has promised me that one day she will be the President of the United States of America. And I cannot wait for Donald Trump to be alive to see that. Ibtihaj Muhammad, ladies and gentlemen. And our final Olympian is a heptathlete who was born and raised right here in Los Angeles. She competed in her first Olympics this summer in Rio. She is a 4-time All-American from the University of California at Santa Barbara. She actually went as a freshman to Santa Barbara as a hurdler and then found out that, hey, I'm pretty good in this thing called heptathlon. So now she's the 3-time national champion heptathlete. Obviously knows a little bit more about the sport and competed in Rio this summer. She's also still coaching for Santa Barbara Track Club with kids there. A big round of applause for Los Angeles native, Barbara Nwaba. Oh, you guys are so far away. I feel like we need to be closer. These are big couches. Nice couches. All right, so you have all your medals on, which I see, which is awesome. Lex, I just discovered, I don't know if you guys know this about the Paralympic medals. Do you want to tell them, Lex, what's different about them?
Yes, so all of the Paralympic medals, you have the gold, silver, and bronze. And the idea behind the Paralympic medals this year is that when you shake them, they have these beads inside. So for athletes who are blind and sight impaired, each one sounds different. So when you shake it, you should be able to distinguish which one is what color. Yeah. And I was telling Julie in the back that at first I really didn't like it because it made it seem like, man, like my medal's broke. What's wrong with it? But
what's wrong with this thing?
But eventually it's like the idea it's really cool, and they definitely put some thought into making it really special for us this year.
So they make a different sound for whatever medal you won, you said. Yes. That's awesome. Can I hear that again?
I can't wait for Christmas time because it's like Jingle Bell. I'm posted on my Instagram.
So I gave a bunch of very serious bio points about you guys, but I want something like fun and juicy. This is how we always start these. Ibtihaj knows because she sat on one of my panels before. But I need like a fun fact, like a hidden talent, something really neat. Barbara, I'm starting way down with you, sister. And if it's not fun, you're going to get gonged off the stage.
This might not be fun to other people, but once I really started getting to track as a high schooler and I really wanted to focus on my nutrition, I actually gave up something that maybe a lot of people still eat, but I haven't had a McDonald's burger since 2005. So I don't know if that's fun or it's like, oh.
There's nothing fun about that, actually.
I thought it would be a shocker, though.
That would be like me giving up donuts. I don't think I could. Ibtihaj?
So like Julie said, I've had this question before. Normally I freeze and she sends me off stage packing because I can't come up with anything. But in my journey in qualifying for the Olympic team, I always wanted to be that athlete who had a plan after I was done competing. And so 2 years ago, I started a clothing company called Luella. And I guess that's my fun fact. I'm also a business owner. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, tell them a little bit about what you do, because it's so dang cool.
The clothing line?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I felt like there was a void in the United States for modest clothing. As a woman who observes modest dress, I was always having trouble finding modest dresses for my different speaking engagements and things like that. So I decided, why not bring that to the US market?
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
How's it going?
So far, so good. Oh, and it's also based here in Los Angeles, so fun fact, yeah.
Fun fact, that's a good fun fact. You are not getting gonged off the stage, Ibtihaj.
Thank you for that.
Steven.
Well, Christmas is coming around, so my sister and I love doing karaoke. I'm not the best singer, but
I love this
later
already.
on in the night, I feel like I am a great singer. But actually, my sister is a pretty good singer. I'll do like the backup dancing part, like just in the background. But no, it's just something that my family and I are very closely knit, obviously. And it's just something that was funny, a memory that just came to me is, you know, just driving around. My dad would drive us around in an Astro van, if y'all remember Astro vans, but going across the country to all these different competitions and tournaments. And never did I think in a million years that, you know, those road trips would amount to us, you know, all competing together at the Olympic Games. And so when we're going into the opening ceremonies in 2008, man, just to look to my left, I see my two brothers, and to my right, I see my sister, and man, just to think, wow, we made it, we're here at the Olympic Games. So that's always a great memory that I have.
All siblings,
Yes.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
And Gene is your coach.
Yeah.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
Karaoke?
Yeah.
Journey, any Journey song.
Little Don't Stop Believing. I knew it. Lex, I was anticipating as a singer-songwriter that you might have jumped in there. That was your chance.
I had it. You couldn't hear me, but I had the background going a little bit. That's what kept them on beat. I'm gonna say, so my fun fact, so there's one sport that I played both as an individual who could see and after I lost my sight, and it's baseball. So before I lost my sight, I played baseball, and after I lost my sight, there's a sport, an adapted form of baseball called beep baseball, and I played that as well.
What is it called?
It's called beep baseball.
Awesome.
Beep. So the ball beeps.
Oh, beep, right.
Yeah, and there's, you know, the rules are adjusted to accommodate the players on the field, but it's a lot of fun.
Don't you also sing national anthems at like sporting events?
I try to, yeah.
Yeah. How's that not your fun fact? That's a good fun fact too.
I'll
help you out for
He
future
talked
fun
about,
facts.
Stephen talked about singing though. So.
You know, is
I
Stan
wanna be
still
different.
here? Stan would really want to sing it with you. Stan lost his phone earlier and I made him sing the national anthem. Are you here, Stan? There he is. Lex, show Stan how it's done.
Oh, snap. That's
Oh,
you, Lex?
you're serious?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell your facial expressions.
I'm always serious. Lex. That boy.
I see. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets wriggling, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Damn, Lex. That was awesome. Nice, man.
You're getting a standing O right there, Lex. You're getting a standing O. Oh, man. I got chills.
For real.
I actually taught him that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Wow, that gave me chills. That's amazing. Thank
phenomenal.
you. Stan, that is how you sing a national anthem. That was awesome. Lex, can you give us a little background on, you said before you got blind, and then after, how did you lose your sight?
So I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I did anything that, you know, any kid would do, play video games, was outside running around with friends, and one day I had went home, went through my regular routine, ate dinner with my family, and as I was in the bathroom that night getting cleaned up for bed, I started noticing that the lights in our house were looking blurry. So my mom had told me that maybe I had gotten something in my eyes from playing outside earlier that day. We took some water, cleaned my eyes out. It made it feel better, but it didn't clear my sight any. So went to sleep the next morning, thought it would be this be better, but it wasn't. We went to the doctor, and after an examination, they said I needed to have an emergency operation because I was suffering from retina detachments. So I had one operation, could see well for, I would say, a month, and after that, same problem happened again, retina's detached. So we had to have a second operation. It was successful. I could see well for, I would say, another month, and after that, same problem happened again. So that was the pattern for the entire time that I was 8 years old, and I've had a total of 13 operations on my eyes, and after the last one, the doctor said that there was nothing else they could do to help my sight. So from that day forward, it was, I would go home, go to sleep, wake up the next morning, see a little bit than what I did the day before, a little less than what I did the day before, sorry, and finally I woke up one day and I couldn't see anything.
Wow, this is when you were 8 years old.
Yeah.
Wow. And having been able to see and then going to darkness, what was that like in terms of how you were able to handle that mentally?
I think initially it was difficult. I think I felt like I was in a space where I really felt disconnected because I do feel like we live in a visual world. You basically see to do a lot of things, and I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't see my family, their expressions. I couldn't see the neighborhood that I was so used to running around and you know, seeing to watch TV and play video games. And fortunately, I had a really great support team, my mom especially, and you know, they really motivated me and encouraged me to be the best person that I could be. And so my mom would always tell me that, you know, even though you can't see, you still can go out there and achieve a lot of great things. And eventually it got to a point where, you know, I saw blindness as a blessing, because, you know, it's like this blank slate where I can create the images and the pictures that I want to see, and the images that I want the world to see. So I really don't have to focus on, let's say I had an idea and I put it out there in the atmosphere and someone may nod their head or you know, disapproval or approval. I don't see any of that. If I have an idea, I go out there and I go at it, you know, and try to make it happen. So.
Wow, that is awesome. That is really awesome.
Yeah.
I'm curious because, you know, everyone in this room deals in this space of sports, and I'm always curious how people find sports. Like when I watched Ibtihaj, you know, fencing this summer in Rio, and I was like, damn, I wish I had been exposed to fencing. This is amazing. I mean, it's really cool, and how you find your niche, because that's the other thing is maybe you just haven't found your sport yet. So starting, Barbara, with you, and then we'll come this way, how did you get exposed to track and field or to sports in general as well?
Well, a big part for me was recess. I knew I was pretty athletic and I could move fast, I could run fast because of what I was doing, just playing, pretty much. So just being active, just real naturally. And so actually I really knew I was fast when I was playing tag with the girls and the boys. So it's like kind of like girls against guys, you know? And so one day, a boy actually told me I couldn't play because I was too fast. And so I was like, oh, okay. And like, kind of like a light bulb went off, like, oh, okay. Like, I wasn't offended or anything. I was mad at the time, but it was like, that's kind of a compliment, you know?
Okay.
That kind of compliment. But, and so I actually started doing track and field events or races and competitions through LA's Best, which I found out was associated with LA84. It was just really exciting once I found that out. And I was like, yes, I will definitely come and attest to that, because I definitely came through those programs. And it wasn't just track. It was like almost every month was a different sport. So I got exposed to volleyball for the first time, track, softball, soccer. And that really set the tone for the rest of my athletic career.
That's awesome, which is a grantee, of course, of LA84, as you said, right?
Yes.
That's great. Yes. Ibtihaj?
Yeah, so growing up in our family, we weren't really given a choice of whether or not we would play sport. I remember my mom putting our town's recreation book in front of us, and you kind of just went down the list and you would try different things. And for me as a Muslim kid, specifically as a girl who wears the hijab, my parents would always have to change the uniform for me, whether that be by adding long sleeves or adding long pants to my uniforms. And when I was 12 years old, my mom and I, like by chance, at a stoplight, saw fencing in the local high school. We saw the athletes who had these masks on, they had on the jackets and the pants, and we literally had no idea what we were watching, but we just knew that they were covered. So my mom said that she wanted me to try it when I got to high school. And so I started fencing at 13, and if anyone knows anything about fencing, historically it's been reserved for people who have tons of money, like the noble, and it's still, I would say, is a relatively white sport. So growing up and being one of the only minorities at competitions, being the only black kid, for sure being the only Muslim there, I was at a tournament and a parent said to me, you know there's black kids that fence in New York. And I was so mad at the time. I'm like, oh, how could she, right? But when I got home, I told my mom, I was like, oh my God, there are black people that fence, right? So we went on Google and we found the Peter Westbrook Foundation in New York City. And Peter has this phenomenal story. He's, not to go into too much detail, but he is a 6-time US Olympian, 13-time national champion, won a medal in Seoul. And instead of leaving sport, he kind of played it forward and started this nonprofit to really expose inner city youth, children in underserved communities to the sport of fencing. So at 17, when I joined the Peter Westbrook Foundation, that was my first time being exposed to minority athletes excelling in the sport. So that kind of, I would say, unconsciously like planted the seed in my head that I could go to the Olympics and I could, you know, achieve these great things within sport.
Because you could see it now.
I could see it. Like, I mean, even though you're not really thinking about it as a kid, I never thought about fencing past high school or past college. And then all of a sudden seeing, you know, other minorities in the sport on these Olympic teams and winning these medals all over the globe, I was like, oh, wait a second, maybe I can do that.
Have you guys seen fencing live? Anyone? When I watched it at the Olympics, and there's a few of you in the audience, I was blown away. It's like you're in the middle of a Tron game or like a video game. There's all these lights going off and it's really dramatic with music and they grunt the whole time.
Yeah.
And they're like, ha!
Gotcha. Not really.
Yeah, that's the thing. They both do it so that the judge thinks that they got him. So they all, oh, I thought it was awesome.
No, I always say it's kind of similar to tennis. I can't tell you why we scream, but we do. And in our sport, the referees kind of dictate who gets the point. So you're literally screaming at the ref like, you better give it to me. Ha! Right.
Steven?
Well, I think I started Taekwondo because of my father. My parents immigrated from Nicaragua, and I just grew up watching Chuck Norris movies and Bruce Lee movies, and then it was the Karate Kid. And my dad just wanted us to learn how to defend ourselves, and he knew the martial arts taught you about discipline, self-discipline, and respect. And so for us, it was almost like a second education. And so we went to our local karate school because no one really knew what Taekwondo was in the early 80s. And it was actually a Korean man who was teaching Taekwondo. And, you know, I played baseball and I played football, and it's just that Taekwondo, I just gravitated to it. I just like, you know, kicking and punching and yelling. And,
yeah, what boy doesn't?
Yeah, and so it was just a lot of fun for me. And in 1988, actually, when the Olympics were hosted in Seoul, Korea, the Olympics were always something that brought the family together in the living room. And I remember at that opening ceremony, the sportcaster was saying that Taekwondo was going to be showcased for the first time as an exhibition sport. And at the opening ceremonies, there was all these Korean men and women dressed in Taekwondo uniforms and doing this form that I knew. And I was like, oh my God. And I looked over at my brother, my older brother, and I was like, Gene, you know, maybe we can go Olympics one day. And that's where that fire ignited in me, where I knew what I was going to be and what I was going to do when I grew up. And it wasn't a question of if, but when. And from that day forward, I told my dad, I want to go to the Olympics. And he goes, okay, it's going to take a lot of hard work. And I was like, yeah, I know. I was like, I had no idea. My dad literally would wake me up. My older brother and I wake us up at 5:30 in the morning. Wow. He knew nothing about Taekwondo, but he knew discipline. He knew what hard work was. And we would just punch a heavy bag in the garage. And I did that starting at like 9 or 10 years old, and for so many years. And here I am. And it's wonderful just to be, like Barbara was saying, at recess. You know, I was always very competitive. I just wanted to be the best in anything and everything. But it's just, like you said, Julie, it's just what it is that you find that brings that passion in you and that you enjoy doing. And I think that's what makes you very successful, is finding something that you really enjoy to do.
And you guys did it in your garage, right? And was that because there wasn't that support system in place in Houston or Sugar Land,
right,
where
absolutely.
you grew up?
I knew the martial arts aspect of it, but I wanted to go to the sports side where I was actually competing. And so our instructor was more of a traditional type of instructor that didn't really support the competitive side. And so we just started like buying VHS tapes and learning that way. I mean, how to train, and we would train in the garage, and we would kick each other through the garage and make holes in the walls, and my dad would like plaster up. And it came to one point where it's like, man, I'm just wasting my money covering these holes all the time. So we would just cover it with a poster, and there's a big hole. And it's a funny story because a lot of people hear about the garage, and we would literally just train in the garage, cement floors. And so we had a friend of ours who had heard about the garage, and he goes, hey, I want to train with you guys in the garage. And we're like, okay, cool. So he came over, we opened up the garage door, and he's like, this is a garage. I mean, there's oil stains, and it's just a washer and dryer in there. It's like, he thought the garage was like the name of a gym that we, but yeah, it's,
he's like, yeah, dude, where's the gym? This is it.
And it was awesome. I mean, during the winters, because it does get cold in Houston, my mom would time it where she would turn on the dryer, and so to get the garage a little bit warm.
To heat it up.
Yeah, and then in the winter, I mean, in the summers, obviously, she would bring out water for us. So my mom's been, my parents have been really pivotal in all of us being successful.
That's amazing. You clearly need an LA84 in Houston, though, maybe Renata.
Yeah.
Lex, sorry.
I found Paralympic sport through a high school teacher. So my mom kept me in public school. So the only thing I really know all of my life is interaction with sighted peers. So as a freshman in high school, we had to take this fitness test, and you had to do as many push-ups and pull-ups and sit-ups. One of the activities was standing long jump. And I was one of the best ones in our school. We had about 1,500 kids in my high school, and I had to be in the top 3 or so. And it was pretty crazy because a lot of my friends, like, to hear just their voice, some of them were excited. Some people that I really didn't know, like, oh man, this guy he can't see. Like, he's just beat. And for someone, I'm assuming if, you can see and you get beat by someone who can't see, it doesn't bode well for your confidence. But I think that after that, my teacher, he had told me about the Paralympics and being able to possibly represent my country and win medals and break records. And that became my goal, that became my vision. And I felt like after he had taken me out to the track and had showed me how we could adapt the sport and how we could turn it into something that I could compete in, I really locked into that. So when we're on the track, just for anyone who hasn't seen it before, when we're on the track on long jump, my guide, he comes and he sets me up at our starting point. You have an approach, and he will run to the opposite end, and he stands at the takeoff board. So he's clapping and he's yelling, fly, 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 as loud as he can. I'm about 120 feet away from him, and it takes me 16 strides to cover that distance. And on my 16th stride, then I jump and pray to God I land in the sand. And we, it's something that we train Monday through Saturday. So it's become muscle memory now, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So, okay, wait, stand by. Rewind. So you start at one end of where your starting position. He walks down to like beyond the sand pit?
Yes,
so he's
standing in
from
between
you.
the takeoff board and the actual sand pit.
Okay.
Yep.
And then he is clapping, so that's what you're following as your line.
Yeah, because the guides are not allowed to move in Paralympic sports. So in the field events, the guides have to be stationary, and in the running events, they run directly beside you. So in the long jump, it's strictly verbal communication.
Wow. Have you ever missed the sand?
I have, yeah. I did. It didn't feel good, but we ended up, the funny thing about that is it happened last year at World Championships. We were in Doha, Qatar, and I missed the pit, and it was, I mean, that rarely happens. I can probably count on one hand how many times this happened out of the 15 years I've been jumping. And that time, it didn't really feel that good. But we were able to come back. It was a situation where I was asking my guide Wesley, it's like, yeah, you know, do you trust me? Because he's always wanting to ensure that I trust him. And so I wanted to make sure that he continued to trust me. I know that, you know, he can see, so he actually saw it happen. I know it was something that he didn't prefer to see. Right. But, you know, I love the sport that much. And so we went back, we refocused, and, you know, told him, let's wipe the slate clean. Like, I don't think about him any differently. You know, things like that happen sometimes, and it's just a part of the sport. Every time I step on the track, I'm blind, and he guides me as best as he can. But there are some times, you know, I make a little mistake here and there. And we were able to, after that little blunder, that next jump was my best jump of the competition, and that's the one we won our world championship off of.
No way, yeah. That's awesome. Wow. It's interesting because you guys, Stephen, you talked about it, and Lex, you mentioned it. Stephen, for you, it was a moment you saw on television that really spurred that Olympic dream. Yeah. Lex, it sounds like it was a person who said something to you that spurred the Olympic dream. So for Ibti and Barbara, was there a moment or a person in your life who really flipped that switch for you?
Yeah, for me, I remember I've been on the U.S. national team for 6 years, and when I started this journey on qualifying, even for my first U.S. team, this was like right before London. So when I made my first team in 2010, a few months later, the Olympic qualifiers for fencing began. And our Olympic qualifiers run for a year. So in 2011, while my teammates are like hyper-focused on qualifying for the Olympics, I feel like I was just getting my feet wet in the sport. I remember in 2012, when I didn't qualify for the Olympic team, it really affected the people around me. Like, everyone was like so heartbroken. I even had teammates who failed to qualify, and they were devastated. And for me, I was just kind of like, you know, like, of course I was working hard, but I'm a firm believer that things that are meant for you will never miss you. So when I didn't qualify, even within the Muslim community, as one of the only visible female athletes on the elite level, people refer to me as an Olympian. And that, like, imagine not qualifying and always having to tell people who refer to you as an Olympian, like, you know, I'm not an Olympian. But I remember I was with a friend, and a little girl came to me, and she's like, oh my gosh, are you the Olympic fencer? And before I could say anything, my friend said to the little girl, she's not an Olympian.
Oh, thanks, friend.
Yeah, well, she was a friend. No, really, we're not. No, I'm kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
You know, it's funny. That was the first time I can remember where I made this conscious decision that I would, you know, try to make an Olympic team. And I swear, from that moment, for 4 years, I like dedicated my life. Like when Stephen talks about, you know, waking up really early in the morning and having to run. It's like, you know, like those moments where you really don't want to do it and you don't want to get out of bed. I feel like I had to make that Olympic team for this little girl. I had to do it for my younger self, for all those moments where people told me I couldn't do things because I was a girl or because I was Muslim or like black people didn't fence. I was like, I'm going to show them and make this Olympic team. So for me, it started 4 years ago.
Yeah, awesome.
For me, it started when I was a little kid in elementary school. And I had watched the Olympic Games. You know, you come back the next day like, I'm going to be a professional track and field athlete, not knowing really what that meant, but and how hard we would have to work to do that. But it didn't really kind of become set in stone until I was, I think, a sophomore in high school. And one of my best friends, Kenrick, his stepmom, actually was an Olympic hurdler. And so she was training at that time for the Olympic Games that summer. And so she actually came out to our high school, University High, and helped coach. And so just having her as a mentor and someone to talk to, because she was there for my hard days. She was there to kind of bring me back and say, like, it's okay to go through these things. Like, it's not the end of the world if I did really bad in a race. And she helped me, like, even after practice was already done, do core and kind of showed me all these new things. And so when I watched her at the games, when her name was Tasha Danvers, and she won bronze in the 400 hurdles. Like watching her and that excitement I felt for her was like through the roof. Like just be on that personal level with somebody who actually achieved such like high levels in the sport was like, oh my gosh, like it felt so close to home. I'm like, I could do that too. And so that was really the first time was like, watching her was like, I can see myself out there too.
But you didn't know, Barbara, when you go to UC Santa Barbara as a freshman hurtler.
Yes, I did.
So I love this, that you didn't even know what the heptathlon was, right? Yeah.
No idea what it was. No idea.
So how did you get exposed to that there?
Well, it's funny because in high school I was a multi-event athlete, and so I just love trying new things. And so my first 3 years I did the 400, 200, 100, and high jump. And then obviously like just thrown into the relays every now and then. My senior year is actually when I started doing hurdles, because we had a team captain who was doing hurdles, and I didn't want to kind of step in like on her toes and anything like that. I told my coach that, and she was like, "That's so nice. Never do that again." I was like, I don't know, like just that friendliness of mine. But so when I got recruited for hurdles because I did so well at the city and state level. And so when I was there my freshman year, I actually came really close to quitting because the program that was set up wasn't really helping me get any better. I actually started to do really bad in certain events, like my high jump. And so at the end of the year, I got a stretch fracture, my first big injury. I couldn't complete the season, and I felt totally defeated. And it wasn't until the next year, my sophomore year, when my current coach now, Josh Priester, came in. We had our own little team meeting, and he was kind of like, you did all these events. I see you even did cross country. Why aren't you doing the heptathlon? And I was just like, I have no idea what that is. And so we agreed that I would go through the training, do my first meet, and after that, I would decide whether or not I wanted to continue. And so at that meet, my first meet ever, I broke the school record in the heptathlon. And so it was like, from then on, I was like, okay, this might be the thing
like
that gets
this.
me there. Like, I definitely think it's good for me. So I've been doing it ever since then.
Wow. And you didn't even know you had that skill set. How cool is that?
Not. No, super cool. I get to try out all these different events. Like even now, like I'm still learning long jump, the shot put, the javelin. And every day is kind of a new day, kind of learn a new skill. And so for me, I never get bored. There's always something to learn, always something to improve on, and that's what I really love about the heptathlon.
And we were talking in the green room earlier about the possibility of it actually becoming, as the men compete, a decathlon.
Yeah.
When is that possible?
I don't think it'll be possible for 2020, but I think they're definitely looking into 2024 for that transition.
And so what would be the other three events they would add?
Pole vault, discus, and increase the 800 to 1500, and then the 400 will be added.
That's tough.
Yes, definitely tough.
Damn. Pole vault. Do you know how to pole vault?
I do not know how to pole vault. I think it'll be actually a really fun event, probably when I retire.
Ibtihaj, we've had a lot of famous Muslim American athletes in this country who are men. Two that top of mind, Muhammad Ali, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but not many women. How important is it, not just for people in this country, and especially given some of the political rhetoric that's been happening around Muslim Americans, but globally for people to see Muslim girls active?
I think that having a Muslim woman on Team USA totally changes and flips on its head the narrative that we've all been force-fed through the media. When we see Muslim women perceived in the media, it's always kind of this one image, like, you know, women in all black, in these burqas who have no voice, who are oppressed, who are kind of forced into religion. And I feel like those aren't the Muslim women that I know. That's not who I am. That's not my friends. It's not my family. And I want people to know Islam the way that, the way that I know it, and the people that I know, especially here in the States. So having a Muslim woman be involved in sport, even when you think about it from the Muslim perspective, having, you know, girls now see Muslim women be involved in things that, you know, culturally are just out of the box for them, I think, you know, kind of changes even their orientation, how they view themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you noticed the conversation shifting at all since you competed in the Olympics? I know we've talked pre-Olympics about, you know, some of the scary things that were happening in this country and people's reactions to you. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed a considerable change post?
You know, I'm hoping after November 8th, we can all like just kind of shove this in a dark closet and never revisit it ever again. But no, everybody go vote. Don't forget to go vote, please. But when I think of the way that I've been treated in the past, or some of the stories that I hear, I feel like it's just this really dark time for us, right? But at the same time, I feel like it's good to kind of put things on the table, and the most important thing is that there's discourse, whether it be positive or negative. I think the first step to correcting a lot of the issues that we have in our society, especially here as Americans, is to start to talk about things. And sport is the perfect avenue to do that, because it just, I think, unites us under this one kind of umbrella of sport. And for me, that's the best part about being an athlete.
So seriously, when are you going to run?
I told you I'd run as your vice president, so you let me know.
Okay. We'll take over the world together.
Exactly.
I want to be your Secretary of State, actually. Lex, you have a great mantra: no need for sight when you have a vision. What is your vision, Lex?
I think that for me, it's always changing. So of course, when I first lost my sight, I spoke about it earlier. I was just in this space where I felt really disconnected, and my mom helped me to see that I could still, contribute to society and still be independent. She taught me how to do everything around the house, how to clean up, how to take the trash out, how to wash the dishes, how to clean my room, how to do my laundry, all of that stuff that I really didn't like, but it was something that the average kid learns how to do those things. And she would always tell me that I'm not going to be around you all the time. You have to be able to do all of these things on your own, so that when you do go out into the world, you'll be able to survive, and you won't have to lean on people for things that you should be doing for yourself anyway. So I buckled that down. And then, it grew into, I finally went to school. I wanted to graduate from college. And I knew that if Paralympics didn't end or, go the way I planned it to go, I always wanted to make sure that I had an education and I would be able to go out and get a job if need be. And then, of course, once I found Paralympics, that, like, the door just bust open entirely, because yeah, I want to go out there and I want to win medals. I want to get on the podium. But then I also saw that it was an opportunity to use that platform to positively impact other people, those with a disability and those without. And now it's just really continuing to use that to bring awareness to the Paralympics, to bring awareness to those having a disability living in communities around the country, and just speaking on inclusion and how important it is, and how it kind of, for somebody like myself, when I was in high school and in middle school and in elementary school, there were times where we would be out in recess or in PE, and the teacher may say, you can sit this one out, you can go get your homework done, or whatever. And I didn't have that opportunity to go and interact with my friends, and so it put me in a position where you kind of feel less than and inadequate. But once I found that teacher in high school, he didn't play any of that. He was like, you are going to be a part of this class. You're going to interact with the kids, and we're going to include you. And if there are some adjustments that need to be made, then that's what we're going to do, because you need to be involved in this group. You need to socialize, communicate, and get bumps and bruises just like the rest of everyone else. And having that mindset has really just helped me, because now if I go into a situation, in the past I would have been like, well, what am I doing here? But now it's, why shouldn't I be here? I can totally add value to any situation, and I think that's the vision that I'm gonna continue to.
And yeah. And what I hear in that message is the power of one person who said to you, no, you're going to do it, and you'll be fine. Yeah. I mean, this is what this room is, right? And what you guys are doing. That's the power of that one person who says, no, you can do this. Yeah. If you were to give one piece of advice to these people in this room who are, in the trenches, so to speak, working with kids, in the trenches in a good way. What would you say to them on something they could say, something they could do so that kids are going to be driven to do just what Lex talked about, to have a vision and a dream? Stephen, I'll start with you.
I would say, I believe in you. You know, I think it's funny, but in 2000, there's this, we have a little banner, the girl, she was with the USA, I was about to go out in the finals, and she just smiled at me, and obviously I'm nervous, it's the finals at the Olympic Games, and she goes, I believe in you. And look, she must have been 13, 14 years old, and never mind what my brother was saying, but this little girl saying that she believes in me, it gave me like almost I have a responsibility to go out there and do it for her. It just reminds you that, the impact that one person can have on you. This was just a volunteer, who happened to be at the Olympics, and she says, I believe in you. And that gave me this extra energy to go out there and do it for her. But I think my mother, telling me I believe in you, my father telling me you're the best, I think that's the most powerful, and it's very easy and very simple, but to just touch someone and let them know that they believe in you. I think that's one of the most important things.
Great advice. Barbara or Ibti?
Yeah, well, being a youth track club coach, I see a lot of kids that start really early trying to specialize, and I love that. I love, especially when they come out for track, because track is kind of like third against the line of a lot of sports. But what I really want to make sure too is that you're having fun, first off, and then just encourage them to try everything. Just say yes to everything. Just give it a try, because you just never really know. And just being exposed to different sports, different activities, extracurriculars, just helps you grow as a person. And so I love it when they do come out for track, but it's like, hey, have you tried this sport before? Have you tried this? Just to have a chance to experience that, and then just develop different, talents and skills. And so that way, I'll definitely encourage everyone here, everyone with kids, or kids just expose them to different things.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, when I started fencing for the Peter Westbrook Foundation at 17, I really feel like I gained a family, and more so than anything. Like when I hear athletes talk about their love for their sport, I'm like that rare athlete that I don't really feel like I have the strong affinity for fencing. I'm just super competitive and hate to lose, so I'm just like, no, I gotta win. But also, being part of this foundation just really, I feel like, shaped and molded me into the person that I am today. We have over 200 kids from New York City, New Jersey, who come out and learn how to fence every Saturday morning from 9 to 12. And it's interesting because I remember being a kid and looking up to these Olympians. I was that kid who was there bright and early every Saturday morning, 9 a.m., and learning about fencing through these Olympians and world medalists, and always looking to them as a source of inspiration. And now to be on the other end of that, and to be, hopefully that source of inspiration for these kids out there, I feel like is one of the best things that I can do as an Olympian. And also the best thing about this nonprofit is, and I feel like the support that they've provided for me, especially financially, coming from a sport that's very, very expensive. It can cost fencers $25,000 to get through the training and World Cup circuit in a given year, but I know that no matter win or lose, I have this family behind me. Like, they love me more, I feel like, when I lose even than when I win, because you're surrounded by so many successful people. So I know I wouldn't be where I am today without the support of a nonprofit. So I would encourage everyone here to, if you're not involved, to please do so, because it's done so much for me as an athlete.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lex.
What I was going to say, I wanted to piggyback off of Stephen, because I really like that having someone that says, I believe in you, but even going further than that, having someone that shows you that they believe in you. And for me, again, going back to that high school teacher, he devoted so much time to helping me go out there and train. Someone who can't see, needs a little bit of assistance. And that's all it took was a little bit of time. And it speaks into, of course, my slogan, no need for sight when you have a vision, because I always say sight sight shows us what is, and vision shows us what can be. And for him showing me that he believed in me, it really fueled that vision and gave me that power and that internal, that drive and that tenacity. And I began to, actually see where I wanted to go and who I wanted to become. So when you not only say, I believe in you, but put the actions behind it, it can really, it gives kids life.
And hope and oxygen. Yeah, absolutely. I'm listening to all of you and watching all of you, and I just feel like super proud that you have represented our country in so many phenomenal ways, from your sport to the diversity to your gender. I mean, it's fabulous to see and to watch. So thank you for representing us so well, and thank you for spending time with us here at LA84's Foundation Summit. I'll help you out, Lex.